again over the past few years how racist cops can lead to the deaths of innocents. But now we find out that racism in cops can influence the outcome even when they're not involved in the killing. When it comes to the resolution of murder cases, the race of the victim is super important for whether they will ever find the person who committed the crime. We're going to speak specifically about New York City here. 86% of homicides involving a white victim have been solved, a very high clearance rate, they call it, compared with 45% of those involving a black victim, according to the analysis of 2013 data by the New York Daily News. So purely just on the race of the victim, your chances of clearing the case is twice as high with a white victim as a black victim. Now, there are a couple of different reasons that we can get into that might help to explain this, but they inherently do not care as much about solving crimes involving black victims. And the 45%, that sounds bad, but that's not even the amazing fact. The amazing fact is what's happening in other parts of the country. David Kennedy, a professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, told Mother Jones that in minority communities, clearance rates for murder and non-fatal shootings can get pathetically low. They can easily fall down to single digits. Worse than a coin flip when you murder someone, whether you're ever going to be caught in some communities.
So we're going to talk about the vicious circle that this creates and how it leads to more crime and more unsolved murders. But 86 to 45 is easy. So these are the people that Fox News from time to time pretends to care about. Some are killed by whites, but obviously some are also killed by blacks. Black on black crime. That's the thing that Fox News is always talking about, right? Like, oh, what about black on black crime? Well, it turns out you have black on black crime or anything on black crime, and the cops are like, whatever, dude, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought you guys cared so much about it. I thought the conservatives, this is the thing they cared the most about because they care so much about the African-American community. Yeah. That's why they want to stop the black on black crime. It turns out, no, they don't. They don't want to stop the black on black crime. You see Fox News doing segments about this? No. Are they mad at the police for not solving enough of the cases where black people die? I've never heard it, right? No, of course they don't care. And so, look, then you get into why, right? There are a number of legitimate reasons, meaning things that you could understand.
That seem to make sense.
Right. And then there's the big factor of, does it get the same amount of attention?
Yeah.
Right. But let's talk about some of the ones, some of the factors that are understandable.
Yeah. And so one of the large ones that I think we can totally understand with the experience of the last few years is a lack of trust in the police in some of these minority communities. And what that can lead to is people being unwilling to communicate directly with the police, either in delaying the actual reporting of crimes, whether shootings or actual killings, or not coming forward with supplementary evidence or coming forward with a full account of what happened, or just delaying it. And it turns out that it's incredibly important that as much information as possible is given as early as possible. That is correlated very heavily with solving some of these crimes. And even if information is eventually revealed to the police, if it isn't there in the initial survey of the scene and looking for witnesses and things like that, then it is much less likely that they are going to solve some of these crimes. And again, I mean, Fox would probably use that to attack the community, saying, look, you're causing this by not talking to them, but there's a reason that they don't talk to the police in many of these cases, and it has to do with the historic behavior of the police.
That's exactly right. So why do some of the white residents of McKinney support the actions of Case Bolt, as we've shown over the last couple of days? They trust the cops. Why do they trust the cops? Because from their perception, whenever they call the cops come in and rough up the black people and scoot them out of town, right? Yeah. And so they're like, okay, they work for us, so I'm going to call the cops whenever I need them, even if I'm in the wrong. Remember that a white adult had begun that fight. She never got looked for. She never got charged. None of that happened, right? They came in instead, removed the people she was hitting, okay? Yeah. So so that community, for all of its other problems, trust the cops that they're on their side.
Yeah.
Now, not in the way we would want them to be, but there is that trust, right? Now, oftentimes African American communities in these cities don't trust the cops at all because they have historically shown to be not on their side, not unfairly so. Like, I don't think African Americans are looking for, like, hey, make sure you beat up white people that walk into our neighborhoods. That's not what they're looking for, right? But they get the stopped and frisked. They get all this stuff. They get and
followed around.
Right. Now, okay, so conservatives will then turn around and lay their second criticism on this and go, well, it's the fault of the community, as you said. That's point one, for not trusting the cops. And then it's there, that's why we don't solve the case. Number two is they'll say, well, we did the stop and frisk. That was policing, and you complained about that. Well, then now you're complaining about not policing. No, I need you to have some sort of degree of judgment, common sense, right? So it's not a black and white issue. So cops sometimes get mad, right? And then this happened in New York, and they go, okay, then we're going to do a slowdown. We're not going to do any policing, right? No, your two options aren't, I'm going to crack skulls, whether people are innocent or guilty. I'm going to pull over all minorities, almost exclusively minorities in New York, right? Or I'm going to do no policing. No, what we want you to do is right in the middle, where you do real policing, detective work.
Yeah.
Hey, who killed this guy? Who raped that woman? Like, what?
And apparently they can do it since they solved 86% of the white victims' murder.
Such a great point by John. It's not like they're incapable of it.
Yeah.
It's that they don't. Partly they don't want to do it, and partly the other reasons that we're explaining here. But that's also part of the vicious circle that you never earn the community's trust because you never work for the community.
Yeah.
And then as you get less cases solved, the community is even more frustrated, and then you turn around and blame the community and say, oh, that's because you didn't work with me, and the vicious circle gets worse.
Yeah. I mean, I would play devil's advocate. I don't know that this is true, but it could be. I mean, a murder is not one sort of thing. There are many different ways that a murder can happen, and it could be that predominantly in New York, at least, white victims of murder tend to be killed in a certain way that might be easier to find the perpetrator for. I mean, obviously, if a crime was, like a husband killing his wife, it's probably easier to track him down than a random shooting or something like that. This is based almost entirely on stereotypes. But if that was the case and the killings were conducted in a not entirely random fashion, then that could lead to a lower clearance rate for the black victims of crimes, but probably not half as high.
Exactly. So even if you were to grant all of that, it's still not going to lead to a result of 86 to 45, which is unbelievable disparity. And finally, another round of vicious circles is if the cops don't solve the crimes, then what are people going to do? Naturally, because we're human beings. They're going to want to take the law into their own hands. Then I'm going to go get the son of a bitch. Right? Well, then now you got a new crime, and now the cases are piling up, which then leads to, well, I mean, I'm overworked. How the hell am I going to solve all this stuff? And then the 18th layer of the vicious circle is people go, oh, it turns out nobody's minding the streets here. They do the non-stop stop and frisk, which is bullshit. That's not going to catch the killers, right? That's just going to harass people, right? So, but it turns out I shouldn't be carrying pot with me because they'll stop and frisk me. But I can kill anybody I like and get away with it.
Murder.
Yeah, I mean, so, like John pointed out, in some cities it's in the teens or in the single digits. The amount of times they solve the murder, right? If you solve only 9% of the murders, you know what you're going to have? More murders.
You'd be crazy not to kill someone in that city.
But honestly, if there's some financial incentive, whatever it might be, you're going to think, hey man, there's no deterrence. Nobody ever gets caught.
Conservatives talk about deterrence. They seem to like the idea of deterrence. Apparently not doing much deterrence in New York City.
And isn't that amazing? You think like for all the racial issues that conservatives have in this country, that they'd think like, yeah, let's put some deterrence on black people. But they don't think about it that way. They think of deterrence in, let's go stop random black people, right? But then what does that deter? Being black? Right?
They'll learn eventually.
Right?
I don't know what it's supposed to do.
What we need is deterrence of the actual crime by solving the crime. It shouldn't be too much to ask for the cops to actually do their job. And to earn the trust of the community so that you can do your job better.